Hi beautiful beings, my name is Brittany.
And I'm Connor.
And today we are going to be sharing about Ilya's sleeping. Particularly, we've been getting questions like, what is their nap time like and are they able to sleep alone? And Connor has been doing such a cool thing I'm excited to hear about.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yes,
that's
I'm inspired by it.
Good introduction.
Mm-hmm. If you're looking for resources to grow within your relationship, we invite you to come on over to our free membership site.
We've got videos to help you communicate, learn to love more compassionately, more openly, and we've got a lot of exercises available to you as well. The cool thing, I think it's like a series of things based on providing Ilya the right amount of independence and also a really secure attachment, someone that they can rely on while also having independence. And I think there's a beautiful balance there that every parent is trying to figure out, I imagine.
Totally.
And it's a moving target and it never stays the same. And I think, you know, sometimes it's really helpful to encourage a little bit more of the independence, and sometimes it's really helpful to just be there at the first sign that your child wants you. And so it's just been, you know, a fun thing to try and figure out. But around sleep, how this has shown up is, you know, we've always slept with Ilya. At the very least, they're always sleeping with you, and most of the time there's two adults in that space with them. And even during nap time, we've also spent a lot of time just being there with them. Or if we do leave the room, you know, kind of like as soon as they would wake up, going to them and trying to help them get back to sleep, or just being there. And I think that's been really lovely. Mm-hmm. And I think infants in particular really makes sense that we would do that.
And now they're about 17 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so over time, I think there's also this natural kind of separating between needing another body to sleep and just feeling comfortable to do it on their own. And I think they've naturally done that. And like, you know, at different times, I mean, it's been going on for months now, but they would be like breastfeeding on you and then just like turn over. Totally. Like go over to the other side of the bed.
To put themselves to sleep.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like as soon as they started initiating that sort of a thing, I noticed, I just like tuned into it more and realized like, oh, they're wanting to have more space. And there are some times at night I particularly feel that. It's like really reading their energy. Mm-hmm. Are they wanting me to cuddle them right now? Are they wanting to nurse? Or are they saying like, actually I want space? Mm-hmm. And it's been cool to sort of play around with like, oh, okay, you're wanting more spaciousness. Like how much feels good for you right now and how much feels like intuitive to us. Yeah,
yeah. And then the other piece of the puzzle there is also like, how are we feeling?
Right.
And I think that that is really important to pay attention to as well, so that we can continue to develop a relationship and not just let's attend to Ilya's needs all of the time, no matter what, because it is a give and take. And I think over time, again, this is a balance, because infants, for example, I think it's really necessary to attend to their every need. And then there becomes a time where it's like, you know, Ilya may want to be picked up, and I have my hands full, and I literally can't pick them up. And if I did, I would need to like put everything down and then pick them up, and it may not be practical, or it may just not be what I want to do right that second. And of course it depends, you know, if Ilya's like hurt or whatever, it needs that, like I can tell the difference. And just trying to be honest with them, be like, hey, I've got all this stuff in my hands right now. I'm really like into picking you up. I want to do that, but I'm going to do that in like a couple of minutes when whatever. So, you know, practicing that has been really cool, and just kind of allowing Ilya to do their own thing more, like on walks. Just kind of like, okay, if I have an idea that I want to go to the water, you know, going at their pace. And also if I'm like, hey, Ilya, I want to go to the water, just kind of making that happen a bit, like starting to walk away and letting them follow me, for example, rather than trying to stop their task and take them with me. And also not just like completely letting go of the thing that I want in order to fulfill what Ilya wants. Again, it's a balance. And I think that we tend towards giving Ilya a lot more space and a lot more attention than what your typical parenting looks like. And I see this in sleep too, where like a lot of people are really into the separation for sleep and putting a baby in a separate room, in a crib, and having them learn to self-soothe very early on. And I can understand that, and it's not our approach for a variety of reasons. But we, you know, are trying to bring in the harmony now. Yeah,
for sure. And it is like, it's such a cool... it's been such a cool process because in the beginning, like you said, I really felt super like I want to be there for every second.
For sure.
And it's interesting because that gets exhausting, which is another thing that led me to feel like babies, I think, are supposed to be raised in tribe because like I think like parents would literally die over time back in the day. So like it's been cool to feel into like, wow, I'm really exhausted right now. Maybe I'm exhausted in this position from like holding them or nursing them for so long. And this has been a fun phase because it's like, oh, not only can I like tap into that, like, okay, I'm exhausted and I think it might feel right for both of us to have a little more space. And so nap times have been cool recently because they've been falling asleep in their car seat for one, and that's been cool. We can bring the car seat inside then. And also Connor's been like, traditionally I felt like the ways they've gotten to sleep in the past were like if I was nursing them or if we were like dancing with them or walking with them or sort of like bouncing them around for a pretty long time usually. And
yeah, not just like a couple of minutes, but like kind of a dedicated practice.
And then to transfer them to the bed was like a big process. And a lot of times we just like keep them on us while they napped. And yeah, what have you been doing?
Well, I
tried to recreate it yesterday and I couldn't.
Yeah, I just want to speak to that for a second because as I said, it really makes sense at a certain age that you want to do that and that it's good to have that bond. When they're this little teeny thing, you can just keep them on you and just do that. You can do all this stuff. And then obviously as they get older and bigger, it becomes very impractical. It's also probably not the healthiest thing to ingrain. You have to be moving or held or breastfeeding in order to find the comfort to sleep. And I think like we all know that there's a balance there again.
Yeah, when you said, sorry, I was just thinking about the womb and the transition from the womb.
Oh yeah, this is a good, I love this.
It's almost like, okay, like they're out of the womb, but what are these comforting womb-like sensations and feelings and sounds and sort of like creating that, and then over time, like wanting less and less. And Ilya's wanting the independence. They're wanting to be able to do stuff and
yeah,
it's like child-led. It's felt really good.
No, I love that. I mean, there's so many things that we could point to in terms of how to make the transition from womb to this reality a gentle one, and definitely being held in order to sleep really makes sense for a time. And then there becomes a time when, you know, there's more independence needed. And so what I've been doing recently is bouncing them on this ball, this big yoga ball, has been something that was part of the movement thing, and I have really loved that. And also, you know, you don't want to do that for 30 minutes or an hour every day. That's no fun for anybody. So recently it's just been easier and easier to lay them down to sleep, and most of the time I would allow them to fall asleep on me, and I'd give it like, I'd play some music while I do it, and I'd give it like a song or two after they fall asleep to lay them down. And I found that what once was challenging to like lay them down and keep them asleep has become really easy. And I'm sure some of it is like the methods that we do, and I think most of it is just that they feel like it's okay to not be touching someone or to be moving. Like I can lay down and it's fine. And so this week what I've been trying to do is notice when they're tired. They are really, really good these days at just like, I feel like letting us know when they're tired. I mean, the cues are so obvious, and they have no resistance that I feel to falling asleep or to being held and like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. You're right. Like, let's do this thing is how I feel from them. Yeah. And so recently it's just been like, I'll get on the ball for a minute or 30 seconds. And then while they're still awake, but their eyes are closed, lay them down and stay next to them, but not have to move them in order to get them to fall asleep and then do this transition, but have them be able to find the bed without Brittany and fall asleep on their own for the most part. Although I'm still there right now. And I can see this just, you know, it's you just moving the bar. And at some point, I mean, first of all, I love laying down with Ilya.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem for me. But I want Ilya to feel the independence of being like, you know, I'm tired. I'm gonna go into the room and go to sleep. I really want that for them. And so we're just gonna, I think, keep moving the bar.
And what do they do when you lay them down?
Well, the other day, I laid them down and they were like, ah, you know, just like that, like not a big thing. It was like, ah, and then they rolled to me, and then they rolled back and went, and then they rolled to me, and then they slept.
Oh my gosh, they do the funniest things right before they sleep. I love that. Yeah, last night. They do that with me as well. I tried the ball thing last night because I was like, okay,
curious.
Clearly they're very tired. I feel like we have unique relationships with Ilya. My relationship with Ilya has a lot to do with my boobs. Not all the time, but like, especially at bedtime, they want to nurse on me.
Makes sense.
And so I felt like we had our nursing time and I was like, okay, cool, let's try to bounce on the ball. They wanted to keep nursing, so I was like, cool, nurse will bounce on the ball a little bit. And then try to like lay down with them, and they're just like not having it. So they do this thing to self-soothe as well. And I think a lot of it is like getting out the energy of the day and just sort of like whatever's left in there, like shaking it out. And they have all sorts of things they do. They do the the head thing. And they also like do a lot with their limbs. They like to put some limbs on me. They like to move over, and then they make the sweetest noises and also kind of crazy noises. Like just, they'll be like, and last night it was so funny because usually that'll happen and then they'll like roll over or lay on their back or like cuddle into me, and then like within, you know, a minute or two, they're done and they're asleep, like once they've quieted down. But this last night, it was like 2-3 minutes had passed, and then they do another thing, and then like 5 minutes had passed, and then they like sat up. It always cracks me up when they sit up. They did like a half somersault and then like slept with their ass in the air for a little while, and then they like did something else. It's just like, you know, and really not having a template for what it's supposed to look like. Like that was Ilya going to bed.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that I was just there watching, enjoying it, and there was no sort of feeling of this should be going differently or I need them to fall asleep right now. And I think that's a big part of it too, is helping Ilya cultivate this relationship with more sleep security on their own and just being there. And I think that's another reason why Ilya has felt so comfortable sleeping alone, is because whenever they do want us, we're there. And I've noticed it in their waking up too, because we have this little monitor I watch them on my phone. And it's like, it used to be like they'd wake up and immediately like want comfort. And now it's like they'll wake up, they'll look around, I just sort of like keep an eye on them. And sometimes they go back to sleep, or sometimes they get up, or sometimes they like sit up and like start to get off the bed, or sometimes they like ask for one of us. But it's like they have that spaciousness. They wake up and it's not like, I think they wake up and they feel secure.
Yeah, and I think again there's this balance between like there's no one rushing to them immediately with this feeling like, oh, I've got to take care of you. And then they're receiving this feeling of like, oh, I must need care.
Totally.
And there's also not like, we don't just leave them,
right.
You know, we're not just going to like, well, you're crying and it's nap time, so too bad, so sad. That's really like not a philosophy that I like, to be honest. I don't like that, and it feels really upsetting to me to imagine that. So, I think we're figuring out, and I think I know that it's working because Ilya is taking the reign on on moving that bar, you know, on like finding independence and also reaching out to us. And it shows up in naps, but it shows up everywhere.
Yeah, I feel it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is such a great topic to talk about. Thanks for asking. And this whole experience, and I really think it's led from within by all of us.
Yeah.
Like by Ilya and us. So it's really cool to feel out, and I just invite all of us to tune into what we're noticing and feeling, because I think that's a great that's a great skill to have in parenting.
Yeah, and I think that there's a ton of resources out there to look at to get your thoughts going on it. But definitely at the end of the day, you know, once you have gathered knowledge from books, but I think it's really helpful to get experiential knowledge from individuals. Once you've gathered that knowledge, to apply it in a way that makes sense to you. Because it's going to be different for every child, I think. And it depends on like what your personality is like too.
For sure.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you soon.